Boom, baby. I said, boom, baby. I said what I said. I said, boom, baby. I hope you guys can even see what's going on here. Whoops. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Anyways, whatever. It's natural. So some people have asked me, like, Jose, how do you like draw like all this ish that you draw? I have to kind of remind people that the whole thing is it's got to be intuitive. There is some stuff that's like, oh, okay. Here, let me there is some stuff that's like, let me study, or let me, but most of the stuff is just intuitive. Just like that. Boom, baby. Then I get some of this fixative stuff. This stuff smells like shit, man, I swear. But I gotta get it. I gotta use it. You know? Then I'm going to something else. Je ne sais quoi. Okay? If you want. I don't know. A little je ne sais quoi. So what's the purpose of this? The purpose of this is to make just some loose, no reference, just some very loose drawings, so that just keeps my hands, doing certain things like movements or whatever. It doesn't really matter what it is. It's just little exercises, Just kind of like that. Hope you can see this. The whole thing is just some little doodles. The Picasso got shit on me, man. Consider yourself waved at by the world's greatest living artist. Like that and that and that and that and that and that. I've been waving at people then. Boom. I gotta spray it one more time before it gets shipped out, but I just kind of spray it to fix it right there. You know, it doesn't really matter what. Dude, this is what the world's greatest living artist is made of. What spray do you use? What's happening, Eric? I use this Krylon Fine Art Fixative specifically for this. You can use it for charcoal or pastels. Just like that. Just like that. Where do you sell on eBay? Well, I try not to sell them, but I used to not sell them. They were just my they were just my practice. But then I started creating so many of them that I just started offering them everywhere, on eBay, on Etsy, on Cherish, on Saatchi. They sell, you know. Eventually, someone picks one up, or two, or 10. The other day, someone came to pick up 30 of them. They sell. Eventually, they sell. They it's just we don't know, right? We don't know when, because I'm so used to selling stuff so fast on eBay that I feel like I lose my concept. I've lost concept of like selling stuff, you know. Because I'm so used to like the auctions, you know. To a certain degree, I feel like I lost the sense of reality of how things are sold, because I'm so accustomed to selling things at auction. Hola, Milady. Then I'm just like, well, I guess that it will eventually sell somehow. Something like that. Huh? I also think that part of the modus operandi of the artist also is that I'm finishing it up. So some people, when they see this, they're like, "What is it? What is it?" You have to use your imagination. A lot of the stuff, when the artist, especially when they're doing loose stuff like this, the artist is finishing it with the artist's mind. Like, a lot of the stuff seems like just doodles, but half of the information in this is in my mind, and if you look at it from imagination, half of the information is going to be in your mind too. That's why with minimalism or with loose work, you don't need to, you can leave a lot of the so-called details out. Dude, this signature is going places. I can feel it. Yeah, I just gonna try to keep it super simple, super swag like that, you know. Here's another one of my little faces. I've been criticized, but I don't care. They're like, all your faces look the same, all your boats look the same. I'm like, dude, I don't want to make them hard. You want me to make them hard. I don't want to make them hard. I want to make them. I want to make them simple. I'm not interested in making things hard for me. I I feel like life is already. It's already pretty difficult. There's not an ounce of interest in me in making anything difficult. Difficulty stops progress. On the way to Damascus, it's just it has more people. That's all. It's got a little angel. This is the famous Saul or Paul. The horse didn't want to. The horse didn't want to bide with him. Explain what this horse, angels, armies, one. No, um, so the reality is that this is an all biblical passage, right? The reality is that Paul is going to Damascus. It's a very traditional Renaissance painting, but he gets struck by the light of God, right? It's just that now I put an angel there, and I put all these other people kicking it around. I don't know what they're doing. But I liked it because in Caravaggio's painting, someone's holding Paul's horse, and I don't know if he just added that. I don't remember if the other cat was with him, who was always with him, Bernabe. I don't know if he was with him that time. I don't remember. Yeah, sold to Paul. Yeah, I used to be into theology, and so a lot of that stuff washes into my paintings. Still does. Whether I want to or not, it just washes into the paintings. It's not always. It's not so much that it's a choice. I guess it looks like a choice, but it's not so much that. It just. So there's always like this almost angelic figures that appear in my paintings over and over. This is Amber, remember. Oh, nice. What's happening, Amber? And so this figures keep popping up in my can have Christ figure without Holy Ghost. Walking in water. Yeah, they keep popping up in my subconscious somehow. So I obey it. I don't fight it. I used to fight it. But everything that you do, everything that you go through in life, everything that you are, it's just it's kind of Here, my homie knows it's gonna be bad after this. Do you fear January when sales goes down after Christmas? No, I never really do. I've been blessed enough to have and I know this might sound like, but I've been blessed enough to have somewhat of a, what do they call this? A steady stream, I guess. You know, I've been very, very blessed that way. I've been very happy to have a steady stream of like sales throughout the year. Here, these dudes were like, I'm just gonna go to sleep, you guys. You guys watch out for the master. I'm gonna take a nap. Can you sketch with both hands? My artist homie. Oh, I never tried it. No, I don't think I can. Mm-mm. No, I can barely sketch with one, Ken. Like, that's too much. That's asking, that's asking too much from me. So if you know your Bible, these homies don't have light yet. Gotta be careful when you're drawing stuff. No, I'm just joking. You don't gotta be careful. But it does give you some street cred. If you know. Alright, let's see. How are you? I'm doing great. Thank you so much. No, okay, that would be asking too much of me. I can barely like, I feel like I can barely, I don't know. I doodle. That, like, my thing is that I doodle. That's about as far as I go. I just doodle. The other day I was doing what was I doing? Oh yeah, I was doing one of these. What do these ones look like? Oh yeah, these ones look like that. That was chickens. Huh. I just spend most of my time. I used to spend most of my time doing this, especially when I was in school. I was always getting in trouble. You know, the typical story of the kid who got like in trouble for doing this kind of shit. Yeah, this is Vine charcoal. The thing is that you have to create humor with like the way things move, right? It's a lot of artists I see they're well, it's part of the learning. We try to create humor by like doing silly stuff. Like sometimes I play around and I pull glasses on the chickens or whatnot, but that's not really where the humor is. The humor is like it's like the faces, the way they're standing, how they're laying. That's really where the humor is. And good caricature artists know how to do that with the pose, right? Posture is humor. uh my fave charcoal, but uh the only negative thing is that it gets erased, so unless you spray the heck out of it. I know most of the stuff that I send out, um I mean, everything's sprayed, but most of the stuff is like, even if you spray it, look. And so I spray it twice. I spray it when I finish it, and then like I spray it from up here, right? But really, the way most people do it is they get this thing wet. I don't like it getting wet because I'm afraid of spots, even though it's not supposed to create spotting, and even though this is acid free. From back in my old days as an artist, I used to be afraid of spotting, like, you know, like, because it's some sort of oil, like not oil, but it's some sort of liquid thing. Look. So if it gets very wet, I don't know. I don't think anything happens, but maybe I used to use something else back in school. I don't know, but I was always afraid of it, and so that was that. So I only do a few because sometimes I try to do the whole book, and then I get like tired. I used to do books and books, and lately because I've been so focused on, so there's some. I'm gonna get into some erotica in a little bit, maybe next year, maybe starting next year. Because I've been wanting to do some erotica, but I've been wanting to do it very large on paper. You know, I just think that it's really cool. So I was having a blast because I was saying that all my faces look the same, right? People are like, dude, all your faces look the same. I'm like, duh. Why would I want to make them look different? I'll just make it more difficult for me. Gotta keep it easy. All the bodies look the same. It's supposed to. That's how you recognize a Trujillo. You won't look at it and be like, I'm not sure. No, you'll know. You're like, dude, that bastard used to keep everything super simple. That's why he did thousands of them. You know, here's another face. That's how you're gonna recognize my work. You'll be like, dude, there's some biblical things, because, you know, I was raised on all this stuff. And then boom. It's gotta be, right? Like, it just has to be. It has to be fun. It has to be simple. It has to be light. You see why I didn't like that? Even though it's drying, it kind of made it foggy. That's why I don't like putting so much. What I remind people out of this is to thank you so much, Werner. What I like out of this, or I remind people to do, is to, as soon as they get it, you know, to frame it and mat it and frame it, because what some people do is that they buy it and then they're like, it stays home somewhere. It stays rolled somewhere. They never take it to the framer. And I'm like, dude, if you're gonna buy something like this, like, take it to the framer ASAP. Don't leave it. Don't leave it just there. Unless you're the artist and you're just kind of kicking it. You know, don't just leave it there. I use Liquitex. It doesn't leave spots. I'm gonna have to try that. This is a thing I use. I use this Krylon Fine Art Fixative. It just makes it foggy if I spray it too hard. I don't know if it's gonna dry like that. Back in my day in school, that's why I didn't like doing it. Look at the eye. It feels a little bit foggier, even though like it's really there. It's fixed, right? Compare with everything else. Everything else still smudges. It kind of made it foggy. It's cool though. Now you have a story. Whoever buys this, they have a story. Yeah. People like stories when they buy stuff. Oh, and then Lisa brought me this. She brought me one of her little bags. I'm gonna paint on it. It has this little white spots right here, and that's why she was like super upset about it. And she's like, "Can you just paint over it?" I was like, "Yeah." So I'm gonna do it. Speaking of framer, have you guys framed the little gift for Lisa? We haven't framed it yet. Speaking of that, and we're very good at taking it right away, Diana. I just think that well, Lisa has been tired lately. I think she hasn't been sleeping well. And I haven't had a chance to go do it. But we're so damn good at doing it. And we have frames here, so it's not like we have to go frame something. Pebble leather. Is that what it's called? I don't know. She just wanted me to do some to do a painting there. Yeah, it's just a simple Coach bag. But I think it'll be nice. Paint something on it. So I can paint it with acrylic or I can paint it with oil, but I think that if I paint it with oil, it's going to be much cooler. I personally think if I do it with oil than acrylic. That way the oil like it's you can feel the oil, you know, that it's there in the back. Not I don't want to cake it in there, but still like if I would do any of my other paintings. I like pebble leather. Oh, nice. Make her some chamomile tea. Yeah, she went to rest. I think she's just been tired because she helps me a lot here, and then she has to, like, she'll take Dan. She drives Dan around. She takes him to school and then pick him up, and you know, it's just a lot of driving around. And I think that, you know, and everything's been so busy lately that she's like I'm out. Gotta go rest. Yeah, she needs some rest. And then I'm ready to go, you guys. Got my stuff. Oil may peel, I don't know. Not sure. I've never done it with oil. I've done a couple in the past for friends and whatnot, but I did them with acrylic. So maybe you're right. Maybe oil might peel. I don't know, because the coating, right? Because of the coating of the bag, it might just be better with acrylic. Yeah, it might just be better with acrylic. Who knows? This acrylic bothers me on those things. I wish something that I could just go like, you know. what I would like rather than painting, I would like to do some of my drawings with like bright color markers. Not markers as like marker, but like art graphic markers. You know? Not like acid markers. I'm just saying, you guys. I don't know, what do you guys think? Dude, it's time to go. It's 8. I promised her I was gonna go. Let's see. Have a nice evening. Well, thank you. Burnout. It happens during this time. I get pretty tired during this time. Buenas noches, Melody. Unless you sand it a bit, I don't know. Don't want to ruin the bag. Lol. Yeah, no, the sanding's definitely not gonna do it. The sanding is usually for other surfaces. So I painted on different types of material. I know that acrylic is going to hold for sure, but I was kind of hoping that oil. I'm gonna do some reading. I was hoping that oil, because I know acrylic holds. Because I painted with different materials. I painted on glass, plexiglass, vinyl. I've been painting, different. I've tried different stuff in the past. I used to do portraits on glass, acrylic or oil portraits on glass, on acrylic, on plexiglass. What you do in those circumstances when you're painting on glass, you have to condition the glass. It's they sell those. It's like a bottle of some liquid, some sort of alcohol. But it's not just alcohol. So what it does is that it cleans the. It's almost as if you had sand it, right? Because you have to get all the particles, all the dust particles and everything off of it. So you condition it and then you can put the acrylic. But I never. Your work will even look good embroidered, huh? Oh yeah. So did I show you guys? Let me show you real quick. Did I show you guys the stuff that Tom sent me some really cool stuff. So I'm a fan of this man. Dude, I'm a fan of Tom. Did I show you the stuff that he did? Look at this stuff. I love this stuff. This is the kind of stuff that I would like to see also. He did all kinds of really cool stuff. Like, look at this one. Anyways, it's based on this one, but he's done some other ones. And what I would like for him to do is to base him on some of my bee paintings or some of my bird paintings. I think it would be really cool. I wanna sell these pups, right? He sent them to me so I could sell them, and then give me share. But I really like them. Markers, yeah. You saw it, right? Yeah, I did show it last time, right? Yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to do some of that stuff. And then I put something else in there. Look at some of the other stuff he does. I just think the stuff he does is so freaking amazing. The woodcuts are just like ridiculously good. You can find him. His name is Tom Callos. Callos. He's a martial artist on Instagram, and yeah, he does some really nice stuff. And so when I'm looking like at art, or I'm looking for art, that's the kind of stuff that I'm looking for. Like someone who has something very unique because because I feel like online is inundated with, especially like eBay, Etsy. It's inundated with really bad work. I don't remember his IG. It's just Tom Callows, I think. Tom Callows. I'll make sure to share his work because I'm going to be auctioning a couple of his pieces. But yeah, that's the idea. I feel like there's so much. So let me show you some of the stuff that I've done in the past before I go, because I'm ready to go home. So this is me this is me a while back. That's me a while back. We're gonna call it me a while back. And so I used to do some very large works that were kind of like just based on his. Let me see. They're just kind of based on. I used to get like into surreal work. This is some of my older stuff. I'm sure you guys have never seen any of this stuff. But this is kind of my surreal work. This is, and this is old stuff. This is like, I used to. So I've done all sorts of different stuff. I've done some sort of surrealism. I've done some fantasy work and so when I was doing this stuff, this is the stuff that I was throwing in galleries. This was about 17 years ago. This is the stuff that I was throwing in galleries. But I was doing huge stuff. I sold probably over 100 pieces. What I mean huge, I'm talking about, there were paintings like this that were like 7 foot tall, and some of them were bigger. I did some 13 feet, but it was a mix of realism and dreamlike realism, but I wasn't trying to do like the whole pop surrealism or anything like that. Oh, I love that, Chamuco. I remember those. What's happening? You can paint and draw, lol. Yeah, I sure can. But that was the stuff that I used to do. That was like my that was like the stuff that I used to get into. Now you guys saw some of the stuff that I used to do. Yeah, I don't think I have. We just kept those here in the studio. They're very old. What made you curve away from this style? It is time consuming for sure. What made me curve away is that this kind of stuff would always get me oohs and ahs, right? People were like, "Ooh, look at that little drop of water." It used to get me oohs and ahs, and I used to get a lot of really cool satisfaction from it. The selling this stuff and getting into the gallery was a whole different gig. Like, I used to get into galleries. I did a few shows in prominent galleries back in the day. I did the whole looking for galleries in LA, New York, and Chicago. And so I got to exhibit in different places, but the mullah wasn't coming in. And so I got pretty pissed. I couldn't wait long. Can I see the women again up close? Yeah. By the way, this stuff is old. Like I later on, I was very much influenced by what's his name, Kehinde, and I started looking for ways to implement in my drawings, but this stuff is way before I saw any of his works or any of those works. I was pretty much influenced in mixing something. Not hyper realism, but getting into a little bit more realistic, um, without um, I don't know, without making it so obvious, you know, because in realism you can make it very obvious. And look at the little lines that I did there. I love those little lines. Now, those lines were not created to to look. They're not even. Okay, so they're not used as a metric for making the drawing. That's not what it was for. It wasn't to be traced. Those little lines were created because I had a whole philosophy on it, and the little points, the little squares, and all of that. I mean, I created a whole philosophy around this. It got so, for me, it got so deep that it was like, these are panels, these are wood panels. It got so deep that I enjoyed it so much. It was very enjoyable. Um, it's time consuming work. I didn't shy away from time consuming work. I did a lot of very time consuming work. Um, so after that, I got into halftone. You guys remember that big Salvador Dali painting of his brother, his dead brother, the halftone painting he did? So I did a whole bunch of them like that, very large halftone paintings, and those are very time consuming. And so at some point I just got tired and I started tracing them. And whether you trace them or not, it doesn't matter. They're time consuming, period. So I started tracing them. I started projecting them. I started doing all sorts of things in halftone, where if you wanted to see a figure, you have to stand like 40 feet away from it in order to see it come through. And so I would put figures in figures, and I would do this halftone thing that you can do. You could do it with Photoshop. You know, you can still do it, but this was about, again, this is about 17 years ago or so. You can do halftone. So right after this, I got into halftone. Halftone artwork is where my heart is, really. Um, and so I feel like if I would have gotten that direction, I would have stayed more with digital work, digital art. Uh, and so that's the thing, right? Like you draw something, like if you have something like that, and then you show a doodle, and and people think that you can't draw. That's why you do this. No, I do shit like this because I spent all my life doing shit like this. That's why. That's the game. And so I get to play around, right? You get to play around with that kind of stuff. Um, But yeah, that's pretty much that. All right, my friends, let's see. I'm trying hard to curve away from realism. I like to work a little looser. It's taking some practice. Yeah, it's so weird because realism is one of those things that and then you'll have any idiot just kind of show up and do what you're doing, and then they think that you're not any good or you don't know, and they can just copy your work, They just copy your work because they think you can't draw and you can't paint. They think you're on the same level, that you also can't draw, or you can't paint. And most of us who are doing any form of loose artwork, it's because we busted our ass doing realism most of our life. Most artists who do any sort of loose work, you can tell if they're doing loose work and they're just kind of playing with it, or they are doing loose work because they did a lot of the other work. Because it's so hard to move from realism simplify it, right? It's difficult. It's difficult to move from in realism. The real problem is not, it's not the patience. And what I believe in realism or any form of representational work, the real problem is not the patience, which everybody thinks is the patience. It's not the patience, it's proportions. Proportions is the real problem. It's not the shadows, it's not the light. Assuming you know what you're doing, proportions is really the problem. Proportions and distance, right? Creating distance in within the painting. I'm not talking about just points of perspective, but using distance. Like sometimes people draw and paint really well, but all the figures are lapped, are just they're pancaked on top of each other, and that fucks up a good painting. This is why people that study Caravaggio, you'll notice that Caravaggio bent the rules a bit in order so that the paintings wouldn't get pancaked. Because prior to him, usually the paintings, if you had multiple bodies, they just got pancaked on each other, just kind of overlaid on each other, and that there's no depth, there's no sense of space, right? There's no spatial sense in there. And so people think that realism is like, oh, I gotta draw well. No, bullshit. It's not about drawing well or painting well. It's about creating space. Because in realism, what you're doing is you're trying to get the sense that this is not a two-dimensional reality. You're playing with three-dimensional reality. And so how do you do that on a two-dimensional board, right? How do you do that? And so I really admire artists who understand space, who really understand space, and I try to implement all those things on my little impasto eBay paintings. Even masters fucked up with pancaking people. Yeah, every artist has to know how to do this. Basic drawing skills, good proportions, find the touch in there. Yeah. Yeah, because it's not easy, right? Because people think, oh, I have to draw well. And then you draw something, you draw the figure behind them, and it just looks like this. There's no volume between them. There's no sense of space. And very few artists know how to do that. And so when I see an artist that knows how to do that, it's like, oh, wow. Like they understand three-dimensionality beyond the obvious, the face, the cloth, right? Like it's easy to do that. Now put something behind that. You know, that's when shit hits the fan. When you put something behind this. Now this looks flat. Even if you did it three-dimensionally, now it looks flat when you put something behind it. If you don't know how to put something behind it. Some like Manet even play with proportions. Yeah. Painting the air. There you go, Chris. Yeah, it's painting the air. It's painting the space, right? The space, that's where the shit hits the fan. I see a lot of artists painting all kinds of stuff, and it's like yeah, but your picture still looks flat. It still looks flat. No matter what you do to it, it still looks flat. And it's because painting space is a motherfucker. Painting space is not easy. One of the artists that I admire that understands space pretty well, that's here on Instagram, it's Mark Tennant. I think Mark Tennant understands space pretty damn well. I think he's done it enough to understand it pretty well. A lot of artists don't, and it's hard. Like we know how to paint something, right? We know how to paint something, but it's floating in nothing. Right? The thing is to make this three-dimensional object you painted on a two-dimensional format. The thing is to make the three-dimensional object on a two-dimensional format appear as if the three-dimensional object is in a three-dimensional world. That's the shit right there. And you know, we'll figure it out as we go. We'll try our best to play the trick. There you go. That's the word. Atmosphere perspective. Those are the words. That's the What do they call it? That's the correct term. Atmospheric perspective. And I one of the artists that I talk a lot about is Caravaggio, because I feel like he understood that very well. Even though he fucked up, you can see that he fucked up a lot of times. But I think he understood that really well. And I think... Sorry about that, guys. Huh. Well, DoorDash was supposed to be here. Yeah, dude, I need a shave. Go home, your wife is waiting. Yeah. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much that. I think that's why Caravaggio was able to play around with the idea of proportions. Even though I think people say that he got the proportions wrong because he was using camera obscura. But I don't think he got the proportions wrong necessarily because he was using camera obscura. I think he got the proportions, quote unquote, wrong in not by accident, but he thought about it pretty well. Hey, thank you. I think he thought about it pretty well. Just like Michelangelo did the proportions wrong for the David, right? The David was supposed to be looked from the bottom up. And so it looks like the head is too small or too large. The David looks like the head is too large, the hands are too large, but it's not that. It's that. It's the same way that when you're driving and they paint the arrows. I don't know if you've seen the arrows on the floor or that all that traffic signaling. It's painted weird. If you get close to it, you realize it's out of proportion, and the reason why it's because it's not meant for you to see it like that. It's meant for you to see it on your car from a distance. All right. Well, it's time for me to go, my friends. I'll see you guys tomorrow, I guess. Todo es cuestión de perspectiva. Todo en el arte es cuestión de perspectiva. Todo. Que todo es óptico. Entonces no tiene que ser perspectiva, no hay vuelta de hoja. Nomás que la gente se encaja en el color nada más. Se encaja en el color y en la grosura de la pintura, y eso no es arte nada más. Es más allá de eso. All right. Well, I'll be talking to you guys. Take care, everybody. Much love. I got to get ready to close this place and go home. Adios. Stay well and sophisticated, everybody. I got to get a shave, man. Look at this. Shave it. Take care. Good night.